Our guest today is Dana Lyn Baron. You might have seen her in the frequently popular Being the Ricardos alongside the amazing Nicole Kidman, Javier Bardem, and J.K. Simmons. But actually, you might have seen her in a ton of other shows as well. Here's Dana. Please introduce yourself and share a little bit of who you are and where we know you from.
Thank you, Kathy, for that intro. And hi, everyone. Oh my goodness, where do I start? It's been a very fun last few years for myself, besides Being the Ricardos, which is here in the US anyway. It's out in theaters and it's on Amazon Prime Video. Last year, I was in the Oscar winner Mank, which was also very exciting. I've been on a bunch of TV shows like Amazon's Bosch, Showtime's Shameless, Criminal Minds, This Is Us. What else? See, I'm already blanking. American Crime Story, the assassination of Gianni Versace.
Oh, really? Yeah, that was a very interesting show as well. I
Yes,
watched it. It was very, I still get sometimes fragments out of nowhere, like, whoa. It's like,
yeah, I
it's
love,
really
and it's funny because I love now that I didn't get to work with her, but Penelope Cruz played Donatella Versace, and so now I'm like, oh, I've been a project with Penelope and Javier because they're married and all, and I'd love to work with her someday. I thought she was brilliant as Donatella, and
was, absolutely.
And I got to put my Italian to use because I played a Versace school teacher in Calabria, Italia, in 1957. So FYI, I seem to have a knack for period pieces because Mank my character was in 1934, and Gianni Versace, I was in 1957, and Being the Ricardos is in 1952. But I've been playing period pieces since I started. I started as a young dancer, and then in musicals, my first professional show was when I was 16, 42nd Street. So that was the 1930s. Yeah, I think so. I did all the tap dancing shows. So I love period pieces. I'm glad I've had a chance to do a few now, and I will gladly do many more.
Yeah, and I also noticed that you were also the voice of Sonya Blade in the game.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat, which was actually one of my favorite games as a child. Not to say I was a little bit of aggressive, but yeah.
Yes, it's a little violent, but yeah. It's so funny because I played Sonya Blade for two of the games, Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, and then Mortal Kombat 9. I made another appearance. There have been many actresses who've played Sonya Blade, and I am so glad and I got to be in that mix. Ronda Rousey, the MMA fighter, has been the most recent one.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's funny, I still get fan letters now and then, like people really love the game, love the franchise. And so I'm always surprised, but then I have to remember, oh yeah, no, there are people who are just huge fans. And so I appreciate their kind comments. I guess I did an okay job, and it was fun.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I mean, there's a lot of downsides to this job, but there's also the upsides, and it's good that you can appreciate those as well. Because we just had a little chat before our recording, and you were sharing how you didn't start out as a young famous actor, or actress. You really had to persevere in order to really get to this point where you've had a lot of success these past few years. So can you share a little bit about that? Because I think that a lot of us are struggling out there, maybe thinking of giving up, maybe thinking, is this for me? Because I've been working so hard, I've been trying for so long, maybe this just isn't for me. Do you have some advice for those people?
Yeah, it's tough because there will never be any guarantee of success in this business or in any creative endeavor, whether you're a sculptor, a painter, a writer, a dancer, musician. There are zero guarantees. So the first question, and I've asked myself this over decades now, because there have definitely been periods where I thought, I just don't think it's going to ever happen. You know, you get, I mean, it's really a lot of down days, you know, you can feel quite low in various periods of these ebbs and flows, the waves of, oh, things are working out. You can feel the momentum building, and then it seems to not happen. And in those moments, though, I know even as I was feeling sad, frustrated, all those kind of feelings, I always went back to the simple question of, do I love doing this? Do I have a need to act and tell stories in that way? And as long as the answer has been yes, that has compelled me to keep going. And, you know, I had until a certain point, you know, I had a day job in addition to that wasn't acting at all. I chose, no, this is interesting because I have many friends and colleagues who waited on tables or bartended. That's like the tried and true day job for the artist a lot of times, because it is flexible and you can make a decent amount of money doing it. I tried that for about a second when I lived in New York City, and I was terrible at it. So I made a point of just knowing it. Well, this is another topic. Don't let me forget this, but a lot of this comes down to knowing yourself and believing in yourself and liking yourself and loving yourself. Okay, so knowing yourself. When I moved to New York City after college, I was still a musical theater performer. Oh, I was awkward. Nothing really made sense about me. If I walked down the street, I wasn't one, you know how, have you ever, there's some people, some performers in particular, like you meet them, you see them, they're like, oh yeah, you're a performer, I can tell. Like there's something about them. That was not me. I was a very good dancer. I was a very good enough that I was getting cast in things, but I was like cast in the chorus. I was an excellent dancer. But I was hiding out in this group of the other guys and gals, you know, the chorines, as we say. And if at that time you'd lined us up, and no matter how good I was, if you had lined us up and someone said, you and you are going to be successes someday, right? You're going to make it. I was not one of those people that they were picking out of that line to say that to. As I say now, I not only felt awkward inside and out, I felt I looked not like nothing matched. I seemed to look young on the outside, but there was like this old soul quality too. And I had a lot of walls up, without realizing it at the time. So I certainly wasn't, you know, when I look at young performers who are in their teens or younger, or even 20s too, I'm like, the ones that are really good, I'm fascinated and kind of in awe of them. And I think, wow, how was their growing up that enabled them to stay free in their imagination, free in their hearts? I mean, people deal with all kinds of things behind closed doors. We don't know the truth of their situations or anything, but the young people who are like, I have a niece who's 11 and she's already performing, and she is legitimately talented and so believes in herself and has this confidence. I wish I had that when I was her age. It's incredible. And so I didn't have that. So I moved to New York, and I know I was talking about waitressing and bartending, so I'll get around to that. But I moved to New York, and I had this, it was like this voice that says, go to New York and do this thing. And yet I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't a great actor yet. I'd only had some training as an actor, you know, because again, I was a dancer, and I realized that I had I wanted to act. And so I started getting proper training, but I was new, and I'd have moments of brilliant work, but it was kind of accidental. And I felt disconnected from my heart and my gut, which I think I think any of us need our heart and our gut for our work to do it truthfully and wholly. But I'll tell you this much, at that age, what I was struggling with inside was this disconnect between this drive I had to succeed. I think I came from a very accomplished family, and I was a straight A student, did everything right, did everything perfectly. And so one side of my brain was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to follow the rules, and I'm going to figure it out. But the other part of me was disconnected and not connected emotionally. And also, and I couldn't have phrased this way until my later 20s, which was, I didn't, like I've already said, I think, I didn't believe in myself, and I really didn't like myself. And those are two very challenging things when you're attempting to put yourself out there as an artist and, let's say, get cast in something. They can feel it, even if a casting director or a director, whoever's watching you, if they might not be able to put their finger on what's wrong, but when an actor comes in the room and they seem insecure and not like I didn't have my voice. I didn't believe in my voice. And so I was hitting all these walls and not understanding why until, you live in New York City, you meet all kinds of people. So you start on this path, the doors open that you weren't looking for, didn't know you were looking for, and you start receiving, as I say, the messages or the information that you start to think, what's this wall around my heart, and how can I crack it open? And you seek out, there's all kinds of things. New York is where I found yoga, for example, and that, I think, started to literally and figuratively soften things. I wasn't getting cast in anything. I couldn't get agents, like I couldn't get arrested, as we say. But I kept at it. I knew I wanted to do this. And because it was New York, well, first of all, instead of waiting on tables, I was a temporary administrative assistant, AKA secretary. And it too was a very flexible thing for me. It was strange in New York. They actually, I worked in finance at first, for Morgan Stanley and Citibank, like the big banks, and they loved all the artists who worked for them. So strangely, it was flexible. If I had to go to an audition for a musical, they'd be like, yeah, just go and come back when you're done. And it worked out very well. But eventually I found my way working for the entertainment companies, which brought me a lot more pleasure in that I was near to the thing I was interested in and wanted. And I was such a sponge. I worked, again, this was the 90s. So I worked all around Miramax back in the heyday days. I worked in various departments there. I worked for Scott Rudin's office. If you don't know him, he's a big producer, or was. He's one of the men who's found themselves in a bit of trouble these days. So, but I was learning a lot, and I did start producing short films in New York as well, because I thought, well, if no one's going to arrest me as an actor, I might as well make some stuff. And I'm talking about a lot of different things, I realized, but I was doing all this and still not clear on who I was or what I believed I wanted and could have. And I don't even know how to explain how I essentially kept the faith that this was all worth something. It would have been fine. And I know people, the dancers in the lineup, the ones they said were going to make it, a lot of them went back home those people have left the business, a lot of them. And so what makes someone decide? I know people who've gone back home to their whatever state or, place they came from, and they maybe still are performing, but as a hobby, and then they have a regular job. They're a teacher or work for a financial institution or who knows what.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I've noticed when I was younger. Things went really easy for me. And when things go really easy for you, you don't learn how to persevere. So, and that's also being highly gifted, for example, in no matter what area of your life, that is one of the pulpits that we have to deal with. And I noticed that if something didn't work out for me the first time, I would say, this feels really uncomfortable. So this is not for me. I don't know how to do that. So, I mean, one time, one try. Okay.
That's so interesting, because that's the yeah, I guess. Yeah. And I know you're right. I know that happens for a lot of people, but I joke, I'm like, it's because I'm a Taurus. There's this, I guess I'm pretty stubborn. There's so many different reasons why, but yeah, if I hit a wall, I think what I would do is, okay, that didn't work. Why? And then I go into because I'm take after my dad in the analytical brain. Which side is that? I can't remember. I think it's the left brain is the analytical brain.
Yeah.
Okay, why didn't that work? Okay, what can I try next time? Right. So I went to, what can I do the next time?
Yes.
What needs to work differently? Whereas other people just, because it's hard, and it depends how, whatever failures, big or small, that we experience. It depends how each person processes. How do you process a failure? How do you process I didn't get that thing, or that didn't work out, or that didn't feel good. Well, I must be meant to do something else. Or no, there must be a way to do it, and I just haven't discovered the better way. Or what if I just, I don't know, it's sometimes shifting focus on what's most important right now. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
I'm still in this. I mean, this is such a big topic, and it seems hard to articulate sometimes, because I feel like there's sometimes opposing forces. I sometimes feel like a walking contradiction. Like I can experience just these opposites. I have, frankly, in recent years, very recent years, let's say the last 5 years, I have been trying to quiet my analytical mind more and more. And really operate and strengthen my relationship with my intuition.
Yeah.
The part of me that knows, right? That actually knows. Like when my mind starts spinning, I know that's my monkey mind going. And that's why I meditate every day. So that has certainly helped quiet that mind. When the mind, I work with a Reiki master, and we talk about this. The brain, since I was a child, a toddler, really, the brain somehow decided that it ought to be in charge. The thinking brain, right? And no, it's like I've been working actually these last few years of no, dude, get in the back seat. It's noise, it's chatter, it's the survival, like the brain's trying to do everything it can to survive and figure things out.
We call it brain noise. It's just what sabotages every artist is get in touch with their feeling, their state flow, for example, for what I hear a lot when talking with actors and working with them is that when they're at for example, the second phase of an audition, and they're in front of the team that will decide, and they have to play the role in front of the casting crew. And then they're thinking all the time, is this what they want?
Mm-hmm.
Is it looking okay? What is she thinking? Should I do something else? And by doing that, by getting stuck in your mind or your monkey brain, which is also a great term, that you lose all connection with the emotion that you actually want to transfer, and the entire talent gets lost.
Yeah, you're talking about partially, definitely about mindset, which actually, if you don't mind, that situation of like the callback, or case in point, I'll mention, I didn't get the role, but it's still going to be one of the highlights of my career. I was in the mix for Joel Coen's Macbeth, which is currently out right now, and currently also an awards contender, with Frances McDormand and Denzel Washington starring. So I got a call back, and I went to meet the director and read with Frances McDormand.
Wow.
Shakespeare, which was, I love Shakespeare. I love the play. And so that just, the whole event was a dream. But, you know, when I was I think by my mid-30s, I had addressed the mindset issue. And ever since then, frankly, I love the audition process. To me, it's simply, for these 5-10 minutes or whatever,
Yes.
I am the only one on the planet stepping into this part, playing this role. I get to show you me in this story, in this role. You get to witness me, and what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And if you don't care for it, I'll go on to the next thing.
Exactly.
But it's none of my business what they think.
Attitude to show up, and that is when people will say, I pick you. Because when you show up with that energy, that's just the energy that attracts people.
Yeah.
You want to get
the joy of the work, the joy, like I get to audition. It's not that energy. It's I get to share me in this story.
Yeah.
And in this person's life. And it's just fun. And so I hope you enjoy it, but you know, that's not my business at that point. You know, it was very freeing, because I used to have, you know, that we all have experienced it at some point, that I talk about the monkey mind, but then there's also the squawking vulture on your shoulder saying, that's not right. Or they don't like you. Look at them. He's picking up his phone while you're doing your audition, or eating his sandwich, or they're looking at you funny. I tell you, actually, I won't name names, but one of the jobs I mentioned that I got, what I love about this casting director, who is a wonderful reader with you, like they're one of, because a lot of the casting directors will have readers, like they bring in actors or their associates to read with you. They don't read with you themselves a lot of the time, but this one does. And they're a wonderful reader. But when you're done, you can never tell what they're thinking. They keep it, they don't reveal anything. So I auditioned for them several times before they cast me in this one role. And I swear, every time I leave the audition, I'm like, oh my God, that was so bad. They hated me. And it was so not true. First of all, because actors must know, in this particular case, when a casting director calls you in again and again, they do like what you're doing. So I had to remember that fact. But it was just a funny thing. And that was when I, you know, again, I was working on the mindset of, it's none of my business. I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm just here to share a piece of me.
Yeah.
And then it became fun. It's still, I feel nerves still. In fact, I call it, excitement nerves, right? Because I think it's worse if I feel nothing, then that's not good. Then I know I'm not connected. And usually getting back to breath helps. You could take one deep breath or take 3 breaths. A breath can connect you like that. Because and we have to let go of, and just know too, there are collaborators and that's hard. I know the casting people, the directors, the producers, of course, they seem like they're up here and, oh, please, I just put me in your movie or TV show. They are human. They're trying to put together something they care about.
Masterpiece.
They want us to be the right fit for the thing they've brought us in for, or maybe they'll see us and go, oh, you're right for something else. Great.
Yeah. Which has nothing to do with you as a person or as an actor. It has just something to do with the role and the fit for that role. But I think that is hard for a lot of people to let that go and not take it personally, because we discussed a little bit beforehand about, you know, and I don't know if I shared this, but a lot of artists are highly sensitive people. And one of the things our brain does, due to the deeper processing and because of the right hemisphere of the brain is more activated, we are more concerned with what our environment thinks about us. Mm-hmm. So it is really hard for a lot of us and a lot of artists to, you know, shut that down. But that's why I always like to compare this kind of inner work with top sport. This is something you need to train. You've trained yourself in this part of the process.
I have mantras, affirmation work, frankly, that, and I've explored many avenues for healing, whether it be from talk therapy to Reiki to shamanic healing to mindfulness practices. I do it all, and affirmations were always, actually, I was like, I resisted them for a long time, but I swear that's what changed my audition game. And one of the ones I love to do, I release and destroy the need to get this job. I release and destroy the need, release and destroy the need. There was something in that particular phrasing. I release and destroy the need to impress them.
Because that is also the energy, like when, for example, when you're single and you're sitting in a bar and you're really desperate to hook up with someone, you know, nobody likes that energy. So you are releasing that energy and you are just there to have fun, do your thing, and just shine your energy. And that's what attracts people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really beautiful that you found a mantra that works for you to do that.
And it took time though. And this was I came to those, the mantras, the affirmations, because it started because I had been doing a play and a producer of a big TV show saw me and I got an audition, and I'd done no TV at that point. And it was for a big size role. And I thought, I was so nervous and ultimately it was because, guess what? I thought I didn't really belong there, because the voice was saying, but you haven't done any TV. Why are they bringing you in for this big guest star role? They're not going to like literally. And thank God afterwards, because I had gotten to know the producer. So a lot of times actors don't have a way to do this necessarily. And so I emailed him and said, thank you so much for bringing me in. I was so happy to be able to do that. I love the show. I felt like my knees were knocking. I actually told him that. And he's like, Dana, stop. Know that you did a great job and they really liked you. We did go with someone who has, more credits on her resume, this or that, but he's like, just know you were great. And that's when I knew I had to get to the bottom of getting that voice. I wanted to just like get off. Because it was telling me lies. I had one teacher who used to say, because a lot of different people in my life talk about that voice, right? And they call it different things, but basically I had one teacher even say, when it comes up, you can say, I see you, now shut up and go away. But ultimately you have to find what works for you, the language or the whatever rituals, whatever. You have to get honest with yourself. And that's back to the knowing yourself. What I said way back, how many minutes ago, is that knowing yourself and knowing all your quirks and eccentricities and knowing what to keep, like those things. Like I know a lot of us don't like the things that make us a little weird, maybe, or what we consider weird. And what if we embrace that? What if that was the key to the kingdom? What if all that is us, from the weird, the wonderful, if we unlock all that, what if that's how we achieve, or at least invite more in, invite what we want?
Yeah.
And
I think that relates really well to what you said about, putting the walls up. And a way to bring those walls down is, first of all, the first little step is getting to know yourself better. But the most important step is to really start appreciating, the parts of you that you might not like or be fond of, because the more you start appreciating that, the more you get to be open and vulnerable, and the more your walls will get down, and the more people will see exactly the things that make you special as special, instead of as something wrong because you feel like it's wrong, because that is what we project onto the world. And I think it's so beautiful, because that is precisely what will bring those walls down and enable people to shine their true light.
Yeah, I mean, and as I said, I mean, I'm envious, if I'm being frank, I'm envious of the friends I came up with, like in college, who already had that belief in themselves and that knowing and that confidence. I was envious because I didn't know what it was or how they got it, or frankly, this many years later, if it was true confidence and belief in themselves. I won't ever know. I'm not in some cases, they're the actors who came out of college who were successful right away. The danger they ran into was being boxed, especially I knew a couple actresses who were stunningly beautiful, like what we call Hollywood bombshell types. And they were boxed into this type, and they were so much more. They had range, this beautiful range. They were beautiful actresses, but you start to enjoy success, right? And so some, I guess, who don't know themselves well enough sort of surrender to what Hollywood has decided they are. Whereas I guess the gift of how much time it's taken for me is that I've had the opportunity to discover who I am, like who I am, and just be who I am, so that, as I said, when I meet people or I'm working with people, it's like, this is me, guys. I don't know what else to say. Deal with her.
Yeah, but the more you get to the point where you really appreciate and love yourself for who you are and see that that's okay, then the more you will also attract the people who do the same.
Yeah, I love the phrase, the perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, Dana, thank you so much for your radiant presence here today with us.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to share all these insights with us. So thank you very much. And I do hope that we get to see each other soon again.
Me too. This was my pleasure. This was great. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.